Praise be Jesus and Mary. Today's reflection on this memorial of St. Teresa of Avila, we're going to continue reflecting on the different grades or levels of prayer which are part of spiritual growth, which St. Teresa teaches so very well in her writings. And today we'll look at the second level of prayer, which is broadly called meditation. The psalmist says to the Lord in Psalm 119, verse 15, he says, "I will meditate on your precepts and fix my eyes on your ways." So what is meditation in the Christian context? Well, Father Antonio Royo Marin, in his book on the theology of Christian perfection, defines it as this. He says it's the reasoned application of the mind to some supernatural truth in order to penetrate its meaning, love it, and put it into practice with the assistance of God's grace. So what really distinguishes meditation from other levels, the higher levels of what's called mental prayer, is that in meditation you're reasoning or thinking about whatever it is that you're considering. So you're understanding it with your mind, you're reflecting on it. Psalm 1 verse 2 says that the righteous person ponders or meditates on the law of the Lord. It's an example of that. For example, if I'm meditating on the crucifixion of Jesus, I can be thinking about different aspects of the crucifixion. I can be thinking about how his disciples abandoned him, how humiliating it must have been for him to be on the cross, and how it was also a consolation but also a suffering for him to have his mother by his side, because seeing her suffer would have also caused him greater suffering as well. So what I'm doing there is I'm reasoning, I'm thinking about all those different things. I'm actually doing, in a sense, meditation. If in meditation I stop reasoning or reflecting with my mind on the mystery that I'm thinking about, then I've either just lost myself in distractions, which sometimes happens. So sometimes it just means I'm being pulled away from meditation because of distraction, or I've moved on from meditation to a higher form of prayer like affective prayer, or even the prayer of simplicity or contemplation, things that we'll discuss in our reflections next week. That being said, the goal of meditation is not the reasoned application of the mind. That's not the goal. If it was, then it wouldn't be much different from studying something. All right, meditation has two goals. One is to make the truths of the faith take a deeper root in my mind and in my life, so that God's truth will guide my choices. So we want the truth to guide us, not lies, not half-truths, not our emotions, not our sentiments or our wild imagination. And when we meditate, we should also apply our reflections to ourselves so that we can know ourselves better and see where it is that we need to change or improve and make resolutions to do so. So meditation is meant to help form us and transform us at the same time. The other goal of meditation is to love the truth, to love our Lord more. It's not enough to know the truth. The demons know the truth. They know all the truth, but they hate it. That's the problem, right? Even the demons believe and tremble, says James in his New Testament letter, James 2:19. So you have to know God, who is truth, but you also have to love him, and you have to put the truth into practice. It's essentially what the goal of meditation is. Not every meditation necessarily needs to end with a resolution, but resolutions are strongly encouraged, and they're very helpful as well. And they should be practical things too. For example, if I'm meditating on the mercy of our Lord that he showed to the woman caught in adultery in John chapter 8, and I realize that maybe I've been quite unmerciful towards someone I know who's not leading a good life or who's just treating me badly, then it would be good for me to make a resolve to be merciful to that person in my thoughts, and maybe even perform an act of kindness or an act of goodwill towards that person. That's how meditation actually turns into transformation. Again, it's meant to help transform my life, to make me more like our Lord. And of course, that is the goal of the spiritual life. The goal is for the students, that's us, to become like the teacher, our Lord. That's what Jesus says in Matthew 10, verse 25. St. Teresa of Avila would add that meditation should also turn into a conversation too, into a sharing with our Lord what we're meditating on. So the meditation could also involve sharing what's in our heart at that moment with God, or if the meditation leads us to make acts of faith or love in our Lord, then we should do that. That's fine too. Or if any emotions come up, or fears or worries, we should share those things with Jesus as well. That's how our relationship with the Lord becomes more real and more intimate at the same time. The spiritual writers will say that if someone is serious about growing in the spiritual life, then they must practice meditation every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes or so. The minimum should be 15 or 20 minutes. 30 minutes is more ideal, but maybe not possible for everyone. St. Alphonsus Liguori says that with vocal prayers and pious exercises, so vocal prayer is the first level of prayer, he says a person can still live in sin when they're doing those things. But with meditation, he says they can't remain in sin for very long. He says either one or two things will happen. Either they'll give up the meditation or they'll give up sinning. The two don't go together. So if you need to get rid of any habits, habitual or serious sins, meditation is one of, if not the best answer to that. And Father Marin says that the person who wants to give themselves to good works, the apostolic life, works of charity, if they neglect the life of prayer and meditation at the same time, he says that they can kiss sanctity goodbye. It's basically a direct quote from Father Marin. Good actions need to be grounded in a good prayer life. Father Marin adds that experience confirms that nothing can take the place of a good life of prayer, even the daily reception of the sacraments, he says. Why would he say that? Well, because there are many people who even receive Holy Communion every day, but their spiritual life remains lukewarm or mediocre. And they're not becoming more transformed into the likeness of Christ. The reason is because that meditation and mental prayer are either absent from their spiritual lives or they're always done in a very poor fashion. That's what Father Marin says. A spiritual director should insist on meditation with their directees. He must be adamant on that point, says Father Marin, and they need to do daily meditation, again, if they truly want to grow in the spiritual life. So not only do they need to pray every day and receive the sacraments regularly, but they have to commit to spending time each day with the Lord in meditation. Lastly, there are different methods of meditation. There's St. Ignatius's method, there's the method of St. Peter of Alcantara, there's also the method of St. Sulpice. The simplest one is this: it's to read a short passage from the scriptures or from a good spiritual book and then to reflect on that. So to reflect on some aspect of what you've read, maybe even put yourself in the scene if you're reading from the life of our Lord and imagine what would have taken place. That's St. Ignatius would encourage that. So read, reflect, and then if possible, apply that reflection to yourself and to your own circumstances. And it's best to finish your reflection by sharing with the Lord what you've reflected on and making a resolution if that's appropriate. So read, reflect, converse, resolve. Essentially the four elements, simplest elements for meditation. That's what Lectio Divina is. Those are the essential ingredients for that, which is the simplest way to meditate. So let's ask Our Lady then, who reflected constantly on the things of our Lord. Let's ask her for the grace to do that and then to put those things into practice just like she did. Let's ask her also for the grace to set aside some time each day to spend with her Son in meditation so that he and she together can transform our minds and our hearts and our lives. Praise be Jesus and Mary.
Amen.